Hastings is a sea fishing venue with bags of character. We get about 3 million day trippers in the summer, but it does provide some great sea angling in the winter as well. Today we're going to have a little trip around the town, see what it's got to offer, a little bit of Hastings history, and alongside my favourite little flatfish, Fisherman's Museum here. It's got a model of the world's biggest place. There's a shipwreck museum which shows us the history of a wreck that we could actually fish from the shore. So the swan pedalos might have been put away and the roller coaster's not running, but Hastings still has plenty to offer, especially for us sea anglers. You join me as I head for the beach, and hopefully I've got some fish to show you as well. So I've come down in winter just to give it a go off the beach here, just to let you see what to expect. I'm doing something I don't normally do, which is pay for parking. Have a look at this. This is the prices. Yeah, look at that. So if you want to come fishing, I mean, if you're doing under the 5 hours, £8.40. And remember, this is this is out of season as well, so it's a little bit steep, isn't it? I don't know how you feel about that. I've always been very frugal with my parking, and if you can find somewhere to park, well done. So once I can pluck up the courage to pay £5.60 maybe. It's just on the beach here. You can see these little huts, and you've got the whole beach all the way along, all the way to the pier. You can see it's reasonably steep shelving beach, isn't it? Realistically, you're obviously looking at Whiting, and it's quite flat calm out there. Maybe we'll get my favourite fish for these conditions, which is a dab. Oh, I've got a rod to give away, which from TRONIX Pro, so a really nice rod as well. So I'll give that to one of you out there that comments on this video.
Okay everybody, if you want to catch fish down in Hastings, I found out by fishing myself, the fish absolutely love country music, more in the sort of Hank Williams era, not the modern ones, and also maybe a bit of blues. But if you really want to definitely guarantee, play your mouth organ, play anything on the mouth organ. That's my tip. Okay.
What I'm doing on this, because I've had a few problems with this reel actually, using my fault rather than the reels. So I'm just doing a little relaxed cast to get that braid working. Then I'm just going to add a tapered leader to this, because this is braid as well. Usually use a finger stool on this. And there's not many people about, and that is the joy of winter, I think. But also perhaps a sign that there's not too many fish. So I just want to cast this out like a little gentle lob out. That's a good thing about these continental rods. They can still cast a nice gentle cast as well. You don't have to wind them up. But I have got this good rod. I have got a good rod coming in a minute to show you, so bear with us. There's something not quite right with this surf blaster. Too many problems with this reel. I'm going to change over to another one. So we'll return to the fishing in a minute, but I did want to show you the harbour here at Hastings. Loosely termed a harbour, it is a land-based fleet, and perhaps a little tricky to fish here because you do have working boats. It doesn't stop people swimming in the harbour. Just really interesting. You also get a few things washed up on this beach as well, things that have been chucked off the boat, so you can see what's being caught. Now there's only a handful, and I've actually only counted 2 going out this week. So they are under a lot of pressure, and there is a real difference between these under 10 boats and those vast foreign ships that do the seine netting. These boats are mainly Dutch, Belgium, and even the French. I think 70% of France's fish comes from fishing in British waters, and the British government have licensed over 1,700 foreign vessels, and that's within our 12-mile limit. So yeah, these guys are struggling. The other factor, believe it or not, are seals. We've got a really big seal colony. I've counted up to 90 seals now, and no matter what you think about seals, yes, they're Beautiful creatures, fantastic. Always good to see them in the water, but in terms of fishing, actually catching fish, they can decimate a population, and particularly bass in a small area where the fish are habitual. The fishermen here are also bound by a lot of rules as well. They have the catch app now, which means they've got to log accurately all the different fish that come on board, and that's using an app that they've got to put in their hands, wet hands and what have you. So there's some real struggles. There are, of course, seasonal changes as well, which affect the fishing. But on the whole, these under 10s are using very sustainable methods. This is not an advert for this rod, but TRONIX Pro have very kindly sent me a Banzai match rod. So not an out-and-out power caster, not something you would use on big rock marks, but for somewhere like the south coast here, I think this is going to be pretty good. And I'm going to give this away to someone who's put a comment on the channel recently. I'm just going to pick someone out and we'll send it off to you. It's very light. First thing you notice, very light. And then, of course, I'm a sucker for good branding. I love that white and blue. And it's got a very slim butt to it as well. You can see here, and that's your grip on there. And this is the design of reel seat as well. So you can see it's movable, so you can fish with the reel down the bottom of the butt and up the top as well. I'm going to look into it a bit further, but I think this is capable of a fixed spool and a multiplier. You've got 9 rod rings on here, and I think this has got something. It's got a good little match tip on it, hasn't it? Look at that. So give this a go. Hopefully we'll land a fish, and I will look after it because I want to give it away. Spigot joint. Yeah. Oh, keen to get going on this. And it's a little bit shorter than what I normally use. It's 3.96 metres. I do have to look that up. 13 foot. Yeah, it's a 13-foot rod. I prefer 14 foot. I've got a feeling this will be a tidy little rod, and it's a little bit of power in that butt as well. That's stiff. That is all you need to catch fish. Right, let's put the decent reel on it. I'm going to do a little warm-up cast with this. Half pendulum really, just to get him out. This has got mono line on here, not using the braid. Some lug on this in a minute, and we'll have a little go for these whiting. This would be nice to feel something on this rod, and then I'll hand it over to one of you. We're fishing on the main beach today, and this is some footage from the summer, where you can see to the east here, towards Rockfall car park, there is more car parking, more opportunity to spend your money, but it is very busy, isn't it? It's difference in summer, whereas you look here in the winter, much quieter here as we look in the winter. And you can just fish down from the beach here as well. A lot of people ask about the area to the east here. This is a sandstone. There's a big problem with fishing here. I have done in the past, but I would never advise fishing here because the rockfalls. We get so many of these. They seem to be becoming more and more frequent, but even a small rock will kill you.
Oh shit!
And there's lots of those. They're constantly falling down. You've also got the risk of being cut off by the tide, so certainly avoid this area for your own safety. But it's so light. Yeah, that is a real light rod. I'm not sponsored by TRONIX Pro, but they do really cater for the sort of, I don't know, sort of just one up from beginner angler, don't they? A lot of their stuff is well priced for that, and I think this rod will be something similar. You know, if you want it as your second rod, if you've been into fishing for a while, or something to get you started. It's great, and they haven't paid me to say that. So I've got a wishbone rig on here. I've been using Cox&Rawle ready-made rigs. It just takes me so long to tie rigs. What are you? Are you a rig tyer, or are you a rig buyer? I've been both over the years, but I do rate these Cox&Rawle ones they've got. Right, let's put some lug on here, and we'll see if we can get something. There might even be place about. And we talk about this a lot on the channel. A couple of options. These dab don't mind the lugworm being a bit stickier, a little bit firmer, and it is good to have the option of something a little bit wrigglier as well, to pay a little bit more attention to the presentation. But on this rod here, we're just on a couple of smaller hooks. Put that on a wishbone rig. A couple of different sort of ways to get a dab now, like a little, rather than use a longer shank hook, just try it in something a little bit shorter, and then you can always, with dab, you can see here we can tip the bait as well, so things like sprats tails or just a little bit of fish strip can make the difference. So right, let's cast this one out. Well, if you follow the channel a lot, you know that I do like these Ian Gould's Supermax rod rests, but this one is just starting to see the end of its days, really. I've added bits have broken off. I think I'll treat myself to a new tripod. I don't know if you've got it yet. It's called the... honestly, if you're over 40, don't do night shifts. It fries your brain. Achios Sea Legs, that's the one. Yeah, I'm going to get that. Finally. Has anyone else got one and could remember the name of it? Anyway, it's quite clear water, isn't it? We're not known for clear water down here in Hastings, but that is pretty clear, isn't it? Not quite ready to get the lures out yet. Place being sight feeders might take advantage of this, especially after a swell. And there we go, you can just about see, you obviously see the pier there. We do have a few videos of fishing the pier. It's very inconsistent whether it opens or not, that's the problem. And then further out there you can probably see Beachy Head, that's that headland out there. And then over in that direction, over the wall there, is Dungeness. So there we go. And sitting quite tidy up there is that TRONIX Pro rod. And you will see a rattle on that if anything takes it. And we're fishing the start of an ebbing tide. Again, you know, I've been at work. Ideally, you'd be fishing the flood. But on the ebb, you do generally find the water clears, which is a bit more conducive for things like the lure fishing. It's got like a wishbone section and then a higher, but with some beads as well. You never know these places. Normally I will put the rigs on these foam rig winders, a lot easier. But we're trialling out some of these Cox&Rawle rigs today, so they'll eventually get out, you know. So I don't normally carry them on the packets, but they will eventually end up on the foam winders. Right, let's beef this up with some lug. You don't need these complicated rigs to fish here at Hastings, you know, like a 2-hook or a 3-hook flappers. You don't need distance casting here either, really. That's the advantage, isn't it, of having these continental rods. You can use light weights and it still flicks it out. You don't need to wind up the cast. This has got a wishbone rig on a cascade link there, so, and then there's a top. I'll bring it down so you can see. There's also that hook as well, so all ties in together on that cascade, so it links it in nice and tight. We're going to cast that in and get a few worms on this, I think. And we're getting away with those lighter weights today, because when there's a big swell and the surf's rushing in, you're going to need 5 ounce or 6 ounce leads. But we can get away with a lighter. Look at that. That was straight in, wasn't it? Oh, look at that. Now, let's have a look at that bite. That's a half decent bite, that, isn't it? Let's have a little feel, I think. Huh. And of course, because we've got the lighter weight there, you can see it's yeah, I wonder. I want to say, you know, a dab. They're usually quite quick to the baits, but I think that might be a whiting. So let's, I'm just going to leave the rods here, and I want you to have a little look at this museum that we've got, because if you're into your fishing and the fishing history, this is fantastic, this place. We'll come back to these rods in a minute. Well, there's a couple of things I want to show you, but first of all, look at this. This is a... We've had giant conger eels before on the channel, but this is a model of one. And this was the actual hook. The hook in there was the hook it was caught on. It doesn't look much more than a sort of 6 or 7/0, does it? Hand sharpened. It was from the Hastings Sea Angling Festival, 1922. Held aloft. That's the woman, you can see there. That's the woman that caught it. And it looks like that's taller than her. 63 pounder. There you go. 7 foot 7 inches. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Look at them all there, they've got hats on, dressed immaculately. Perhaps we should all do that as sea anglers. And there you go. Now, that's not the only interesting thing in here. We've also got, that is a fiberglass replica of the world's largest place. 20 pound, 10 ounce. Rye Bay 94, so just off Hastings. Dave Peters RX 58. 94, so just off Hastings. Dave Peters RX 58. It's truly remarkable. I've spoken to the guy that actually caught it. You can just see on that picture, no need to hold it right up to the lens like YouTubers do. So they get big, those brown crabs, don't they? Some really interesting old pictures as well, and shows how things used to be around here. The size of that claw, that one. Pipefish. I have actually caught a pipefish here in the net. So yeah, well worth a visit. If you're coming to Hastings, do pop into this museum. This is the Fisherman's Museum. There's also the Shipwreck Museum as well, worth a look. The size of that wingspan there on the albatross. It's huge, isn't it? Oh, imagine catching a place that big. And then outside at the Winkle Club, I know the artist actually came over and looked at some of the fish coming off the boats to produce this, so you can see the difference there between place, sole. Have a little feel. That really was cast straight in. It started biting, didn't it? You don't really strike in sea fishing. You do use the tide to your advantage. So if you've got a good running tide and those snoods are set well in the tide, then the fish will hook itself. Also, if you've got a good firm rattle on there and it's a bass, then you know it's time to reel in. Aha. Well, it's on. I wonder. What do you reckon, Nelly? Is it a whiting? I love watching the fish come out of the water. Perhaps disappointing if it's a whiting. It is a... It's a team of 3. So it's pretty alive with whiting, isn't it? That one literally touched down, and we got all 3 of those. So yeah, oh well, shouldn't really be disappointed. Beautiful fish, aren't they? Let's put these back because I'm not going to eat them today. Well, Hastings is on the southeast coast of the UK. About an hour east from Brighton, an hour and a half if you're coming down from South London. And we spoke at the start of this video about the wreck of the Amsterdam, and that is, in theory, you could actually fish this wreck from the shore on a bigger tide, or at least fish near it. Not a traditional wreck as you'd imagine. But it might make a difference. And here it is, inside the Shipwreck Museum. It's a wonderful museum, this one. It's located at Rockfall, and again, it's a free museum in Hastings. So if you've got any real interest in boats, shipwrecks, and coastal life, it's well worth the trip. It's a terrific video of the Amsterdam as well. I also like this block and tackle. Great stuff. And while you're in here, you can always keep a check on all the boats that are moving through the channel as well. Another gem of a museum at Rockfall in Hastings. Let's tie this up and have a look. You ready? I'll start the clock. Okay, start counting. Yeah, I mean they're there in their thousands, and you can of course turn them into fish cakes. We've done that on the channel before. I'll make sure I think you get fair enough rattle. There's some of our Eastern European friends that fish call the whiting codling, and they get quite excited, say, "Oh, I caught 23 codling," and you think you didn't. These are definitely whiting coming in. The tide's starting to pull a bit. You can see the steepness of the beach here. It's not quite a chisel, and you're not getting the depth out there. Normally when you're bringing in fish like this and you give it a sweep, if it's a bass, Even if it's a flounder or a place, you get a little bit of a thump. But not today. I've got one come off. And it is, of course, another whiting. See, it's in already. Plus we got one on this rod over here. Well, this is a light little fun rod really. It wasn't what I expected. I thought it would be an out beach caster. But you could cast out 3 ounces, 4 ounces for mackerel on this in the summer. Rod or a traditional beach rod like this. So it's a little bit harder to get these in. We've got a lot of slack in this mono line. Come on you. The reel is performing much better than my pen. This is the Sonic AVX. It's a brand new one as well, so I haven't ruined it yet. The dog knows that fish are coming up. She's waiting by the shoreline. What have we got? Yeah, brace of whiting. No surprises with what the fish were. There you go. Probably let those stay on the hook a little bit too long. So they will. Another option here is going to be this stinger rig. You put a lugworm here on this small hook. And the idea being a whiting or a pouting comes along and hooks itself, and then the bigger fish, bass or conger, come along and hook themselves. And the good thing is you don't need to cast out a live bait there. Obviously it has. Some people say it's a little bit unsporting, but it is a very effective way of catching. So I'm going to tuck a little bit of lug on there. I will catch a whiting on there. It's a case of whether something bigger comes. And another benefit of having 2 rods, isn't it? But it is quite good, if you bring a bin liner with you, wherever you go fishing, I'm sure you can get, whether it's 5 things in 5 minutes. Around here sometimes it's about 500 things in 5 minutes, but just doing your bit. I suppose it's a little bit virtue signalling, but that's not a bad thing, is it? You're showing members of the public that see you. Even, I've even picked up rubbish. I've seen someone walk straight past them with their own rubbish. So these little gripper things are quite good. So yeah, just do your bit. Take 5 minutes out of your day and pick up some shit, basically. I know followers of the channel do it quite a bit, but there we are. Hey, yes. Well, I love these. It's a dab. I love these little flatfish. They are meant to be small. No, not for you, dog. Well, it's taking that top hook. It's going to put this one back, but I'll just show you the whiting on here as well, but I'll just grab this. Hang on. That's the dab coming up at 23, and actually 20 is the keepable size. So I'm going to keep that, and we might get a couple more lovely little flatfish. I'm going to put this one back, I think, but you can keep them of this size, 23 centimetres. Lovely, really pleased. Woohoo! Well, this feels a bit interesting. This feels a bit different. Hey, careful. This is a dogfish. You can get bullhuss here. We had them there, look. But yeah, just double check by looking at the nasal flaps. I'll show you the difference. So, covered nasal flaps. That is an LSD, they call them, a lesser spotted dogfish. Lesser spotted cat shark. No one calls them that. There you go. Let's pop this one back. It should be all right. Oh, well, I'm glad I could show you more than one species of fish. That dogfish had just nicked it on there, so we'll use this again. Just nice to see something else, isn't it? Obviously, changing the bait is key if you want to fish for some other species. We could have used fish strips there, couldn't we, for the doggy? So yeah, I'll just cast this short again. Don't know if you can see there. I just sort of tuck that stinger in. Slightly offset, but it brings it closer to the bigger hook, doesn't it? Yeah, nice little rod, that one. If you do want it, just do a comment down below and we'll pick one. A woman's just come up to me and said she's seen a huge splash and a water spout, and what she thought was, well, she said it was maybe a whale. That would be a hell of a sighting. I think she might have seen a seal though, but more likely to be a seal, isn't it? Yeah, so that's two people. That's two people who come up to me saying, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" I think there's a seal actively hunting out here. You never know though. So a lot of these huts, you know, it's all very seasonal. Of course, you've got place here. We've got some Dover sole and some dab as well, by the looks of it. Some whiting, gurnard, and that looks to me like bass fillets over there. And you know, these are the mainstay of the sort of fish that you will find in Hastings. These are the under 10 boats that go out for this catch. There's a match on. This is a few days later. I just thought I'd show you. I mean, these guys, they know what they're doing. Much better anglers than me. Real attention to detail in this match fishing, but you can see that it's been pegged out here, and there's some locals as well. These guys really know their stuff. Little fine margins, bait presentation and what have you, but you can see it is a well-known spot for the match angling here as well. You could get down and find the beach is full like this, so give way to them, but there's plenty of room further up the beach if you do come down and there's a match on. Have you ever been to Hastings? Have you been coming here for years or even live here? Let us know in the comments or speak to each other in the comments. And there we go, we've got to say, as I say, we've had the beach to ourselves. Plenty of whiting. And if the fish aren't biting, you've got all those museums, pubs, and even the fish and chips. So there you go, hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm going to be going to a couple of other seaside venues and doing something similar. If you've got any requests for a venue for me to go down and check out, then do let us know. You can see behind me the pier. We haven't spoken about the pier too much today, but there is that video there on the top left hand side. Find out more about Fishing Hastings pier there. Although I would say, if you do click on that video, it's very erratic, the opening there now at the moment. So yeah, thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Remember about a workman's lane.
Very true. Right, if I catch a big cod, it's got your name on it.